All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're exploring a seriously brilliant grassroots initiative happening right now over in India. We're going to see exactly how local communities are teaming up with educators to tackle a massive national education crisis. And you know what the most fascinating part is? They're doing it using something as simple yet deeply impactful as a school museum. So let's dive right into this explainer and see how it all works.
55%. Let that number just sink in for a second. According to data from the Language and Learning Foundation, or LLF for short, a staggering 55% of children in India cannot read or comprehend simple text by the age of 10. Think about that. More than half of these kids are sitting in classrooms right now, surrounded by letters, textbooks, words, and it literally just doesn't make any sense to them. It's really a silent emergency happening right in plain sight.
So this 55% represents a huge macro crisis that experts call learning poverty. And the global evidence on this is pretty clear. If a child fails to acquire strong foundational literacy and numeracy skills by grade 3, well, the stakes literally couldn't be higher. They're inevitably going to struggle in their later school years, and their chances of dropping out of the education system entirely, they absolutely skyrocket. So early, effective intervention isn't just, a nice idea here. It is absolutely crucial for securing these kids' futures.
Okay, so how do we even begin to fix something this big? Well, typically, classrooms operate on a monolingual approach, meaning they teach strictly in a state language, like Hindi or maybe English. But imagine for a second being a tribal child stepping into a school where the teacher speaks a language you've literally never heard at home. It's incredibly alienating, right? And that brings us to LLF's systemic solution, multilingual education, or MLE. This approach fundamentally shifts the whole classroom dynamic by bringing the children's home languages directly into the teaching process. And as you'll see, it dramatically boosts learning outcomes.
But how does that big systemic MLE theory actually take shape on the ground? Enter the Vidyalay Sangrahalaya, which translates to the school museum. Now, when I say museum, don't picture some dusty room with velvet ropes and do not touch signs. This is a vibrant, micro-solution. It's an educational space built right inside primary schools, and it exhibits items directly related to the local village's history, their farming culture, their everyday lifestyle. It literally connects the kids to their roots, creating this deeply familiar environment for them to learn in.
The benefits of these school museums are just vast, and their operating guidelines make the goals super clear. The core objectives go way beyond just staring at old objects. They aim to preserve local heritage and build a lasting understanding of regional history. But I think most importantly, they promote hands-on experiential learning. They firmly link the official school curriculum to a local context that the children already intimately understand. It basically transforms passive sit-and-listen education into an active, tangible journey of discovery. And the coolest part? This isn't some top-down mandate from a government office somewhere. It relies 100% on grassroots community engagement. Take a look at this. Villagers and teachers gathered together under a tarp, having those absolutely crucial initial meetings. They are literally sitting down in the dirt, face to face, figuring out how to plan a better, brighter educational future for their kids. It requires total buy-in from the parents and the local leaders right from day one, which makes the whole initiative a truly collaborative effort.
Just notice the details in these authentic, handwritten minutes from a school management committee meeting. This was back on February 18, 2026, at the middle school in Kachhupani, Jharkhand. You can actually see the real signatures and thumbprints of the parents and committee members who were there. This level of documentation is just fantastic because it proves that this museum initiative is a living, breathing community action. It's completely driven by the people whose children are going to benefit the most.
So how did they actually pull it all off? Well, the project has a very clear, highly actionable standard operating procedure. First, you have that initial community meeting we just talked about. Second, they collect materials, and this is done strictly through local donations. Third, there's a careful process of cataloging and categorizing these items, separating the farming tools from the musical instruments, that sort of thing. And finally, they set up the display so it's fully accessible. The golden rule here is that items absolutely must be placed at a height where the children can easily touch and interact with them.
The physical transformation of these spaces is honestly staggering. Take a standard, rather barren, uninspiring schoolroom with a bricked-up window and watch it get completely revitalized. A community member will come in and actively paint vibrant local tribal art, like these beautiful deer and nature motifs, directly onto the walls. They're taking what used to be a plain, sterile box and turning it into a culturally rich, living learning center. And it genuinely reflects the beauty of the world the children actually live in outside those school walls.
Now, the items actually filling these newly painted rooms are completely sourced from the village itself. Families donate farming tools,
bamboo crafts, traditional musical instruments, and even local toys. But here's the brilliant logistical rule that really anchors this whole process. Every single donor's name is proudly recorded in a school's stock register. By assuring the villagers that their treasured family heirlooms are safe and officially documented, it builds immense local pride and completely solidifies the trust between the school and the village. Okay, let's get into the actual learning mechanics here. We've got this beautiful room full of local items, but how does this actually teach a child to read? Well, consider these incredibly simple everyday items: a mango and a banana. In this context, these aren't just, midday snacks to keep the kids awake. They become high-powered language-bridging tools. It's really the sheer simplicity of these objects that makes them so effective in a classroom setting.
And here is the absolute aha moment of this entire explainer. When a child looks at that mango in the museum, there's a label right under it. But it doesn't just say in Hindi. It starts with ama, the exact word they use at home in their local Halbi language. Then right next to it is the Hindi word, maybe the Gondi word, and the English word mango. By connecting the physical object they already know to their mother tongue, and then linking that to the state language, it creates a direct, completely frictionless cognitive bridge for foundational literacy.
What's truly ingenious here is how educators weave this local museum directly into the official academic curriculum across multiple subjects. I mean, it's not just a language exercise for building vocabulary. Teachers will use the agricultural tools during environmental studies to teach about nature and farming cycles. They use the items for math, having kids measure bamboo lengths or count seeds. And they even use the museum as this vibrant studio for art, having children draw the artifacts and build physical models. It's a real game changer. And it's all grounded in this deeply moving educational philosophy from the official museum guidelines. The purpose of the museum is to give meaning to children's life experiences. This isn't just about passing standardized tests or hitting some arbitrary quotas, It tells the child that their home, their unique culture, and their parents' generational knowledge are highly valuable. It tells them they completely belong in that classroom. It's just a massively powerful validation of their identity. And you can tangibly feel the joy that this creates. Take a look at this heartwarming, beautifully hand-drawn, colorful invitation. It's for the district-level museum inauguration, scheduled for May 20th, 2026, at that exact same Kachhupani school we talked about earlier. It explicitly highlights that the museum is based on local culture and experiential learning. It's a true celebration, the wonderful culmination of all that hard community work finally coming to life for the kids.
Which brings us to our final thought. The Language and Learning Foundation has an incredibly ambitious mission: to reach 6 crore children by 2030 by fundamentally changing classroom practices. So if a single village like Kachhupani can transform foundational learning simply by embracing its local heritage and creating these cognitive bridges, what could happen if every single school in the country did exactly the same thing? It's a fascinating question and honestly a pretty powerful blueprint for the future of education. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.